Today we're joined by James Cox. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey in the football industry?
Yeah, so I started off, I was in like a job I didn't like really when I was a little bit younger. Come back from holiday one time and I was like, right, I want to sort of do something. I think I was 22 at the time, so I was like, right, let's go uni. Started sport management at Portsmouth University. Still really didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew it was football, but big football fan, but I didn't know what sort of area of football. And I was trying performance analysis. I sort of reached out to a lot of clubs, didn't get any success whatsoever really. And then found the right way to sort of, I had a mentor and he sort of taught me to do a little bit of networking. That got me some success. I was invited up to clubs around the country. I'd done a year as a performance analyst, which I didn't really like, but it was good for me to do that at Portsmouth Academy, to see like an elite environment, really good experience to see how an academy works. I always tell students now, like, try different things. So for me, I tried that, didn't like it. Then I found my love for player care. Then joined Portsmouth in a player care role. I was there this season, just gone. And then started working football, where I just started helping out students at my own uni. That sort of developed, and then we've grown it now to where we sort of help students all around the country. So yeah, that's where I'll probably say it's a little bit about me, and how I got to where I am at the moment.
So what is work in football and what made you start it?
Good question. It's more of a career consultancy company, I would say. We help students who want to work in football. For me, I think this is one of the most competitive industries in the world. So many students are leaving uni with no experience. They don't know how to network. They have no network. They're not sort of active on LinkedIn and active on these online platforms, and they can't get roles when they graduate. For me, wasting a lot of money. So there's a massive need for working football, in my opinion. When I was in my first year of working football, would have been perfect for me. Like, this is what I needed really in my first year. I needed someone, a business someone to show me what I need to do to reach my goal, which was to work in football. So we work with people on their personal brand on LinkedIn, what to put on LinkedIn. We work with you on your networking. So how do you actually network? Network's a phrase that is dished out a lot, but I don't think students actually know what networking is. I know you do, I know I do, but we're sort of trying to educate people on that. So yeah, we work on the networking, how to leverage your network to get you experience so that you can leave uni with 2-3 years experience of working in football. Is going to put you in a much better place to get a role. And we work on CVs and in interviews and all that type of stuff. Basically, we prepare students from when they start uni to when they graduate, prepare them for getting that first role in football.
So there's a lack of networking when it comes to students applying themselves, trying to get into the industry. But what are some other mistakes that you've seen students do when trying to get into the industry?
I feel like students, they don't understand the power of networking. They don't understand that if they don't network and they don't leverage that network to get experience, then like I said, they're going to leave uni with no experience of football. And how are they going to get a role when they don't have that experience? Clubs aren't going to take the risk. But the issue is they don't understand that. So even though, like I say, it's a mistake on their behalf, they're probably realising it's too late. Like, I talk to students all the time and they say, I've graduated, but I didn't realise this when I was at uni. I didn't realise that this was going to be the case. I thought I could just walk into a job at Man United because I've got a sports science degree. So yeah, that's what I'd say one of the mistakes are: not planning for their career enough. Again, in my opinion, the unis have a big part to play on this. I had a few sort of career planning sessions in my second year, but in my opinion, as soon as you start uni, you should be career planning. Now, I know this is difficult when you're 18 and you want to sort of go out and you want to do freshers and all this stuff, but for me, it's up to the unis to be like, right, have a good time, but just think about your career. Just think about the need to career plan. Now, that could just be, you writing down 3 goals, what you want to do. Students sort of leave it till third year. For me, leaving it way too late.
It's always that first step, isn't it? It's so difficult to start and say, put pen to paper and write, look, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do. But it's crucial. It's crucial.
And it's daunting. It's daunting too, right? So if you do leave it to third year and you leave it till like April, or sorry, maybe a little bit earlier, February or March, and you're like, oh my God, I'll graduate in like 3 months, and you've got no plan, that's quite daunting. So, people get stressed out about that. For me, if you plan ahead, you're going to alleviate that stress first year, start thinking about it, and then it becomes less daunting.
Yeah, and I guess that experience that you'll make when you put pen to paper, try figure out what you want to do. If you try get into volunteering as well, we'll then get into the personal brand side of things. Because let's say you have found a role, you found a volunteering role that you've applied to. Why is that personal brand important?
Yeah.
Why is posting so important?
Firstly, just to mention what you said about volunteering, like, yeah, spot on. That is so important. Like, I've seen it on LinkedIn the last few weeks, actually, which is really good. But I think volunteer at your grassroots clubs. Saturday, there's so many Saturday non-league teams where you can, if you want to do social media, you can do that for them. You can go to them and say, right, let me do your social media. You can go to them and say, let me film your games, let me analyze them. You can go to them and say, let me come to your training and let me do your sort of your strength and conditioning. So you can get that experience at non-league clubs, which again, not a lot of students do, but for me, getting that experience, you know, you can tick that off your CV that you've got that experience and then go on to the clubs you want to work at. And yeah, in terms of personal brand, so important because employers are going to search you up. I mean, we've had conversations before where we spoke about your CV's good, but your personal brand is almost an extension of that. And when I say personal brand, I'm mainly talking about LinkedIn, having a good LinkedIn. Now I started doing TikToks about player care. You could do TikToks, you could do YouTube videos, but for me, I'd say for a student, start off on LinkedIn. Like I say, employers are going to search you up. If they look at your LinkedIn and you've got a picture of you with a beer with the boys in Zante, it's not a good impression. Whereas, say you're in your club kit, or you're posting about performance analysis, or you're posting about player care, it looks good. More people on the industry are gonna see you if you're posting. So again, you're sort of boosting that network, and you're having interactions with people, create engaging posts which are going to get other people to comment. Again, that's going to boost your network. So yeah, personal brand's really, really important.
I think that grassroots route is so crucial to starting out in the industry, because ultimately they want those people, they want those volunteers. So you applying, let's say you want a marketing role, you want something to do with that in the sports industry, just message them, email them. They'd be more than willing to accept a photographer, someone to create some posts for them. More than willing to. I think that's a great way to start your personal brand. So it's not just a CV of, I've worked in this place, I've worked in this place. There's a LinkedIn where you can show, look, I've created this post for this club. I've created these photos during match days. It shows great initiative. So let's say a student hasn't got that volunteering experience. They're in first year, they're in second year. What can they post on their LinkedIn to build their personal brand?
I do tell students in the career launchpad that really anything, as long as it's sort of work related, as long as it's professional. I've seen a lot of students posting about the Euros, which is good. It gets good engagement, anything. But, you know, to name a few, it could be, you could talk about your university degree. You know, say you've got a 2-1 in second year, you could post about that, post about your achievements. You could post about your opinions on certain topics. Again, it could be an opinion on a football game. It could be opinion on a controversial story, you know, all these different things. It could be sort of about your desired role. So say you want to become a player care officer, you could start posting about player care. You could start posting about the importance of player care. You could engage in conversations with other player care officers, comment on their posts. So yeah, those things I'd probably say. Again, just anything really, as long as it's work related, and it's important you do it on a regular basis. So like I say, I always tell students, try and post once a week. It doesn't have to be you're posting massive paragraphs, you know, every day. I'd say post once a week, keep it consistent, because everyone can do a post once and then you're overthinking it, which is again another big thing which I'd like to talk about actually, and just say try not to overthink it when you are thinking of posting on LinkedIn. That's probably not helpful whatsoever for people who are overthinking it. You know, a lot of students 18, 19, 20 years old, I understand it, but if you overthink it, you're going to procrastinate, right? And you're not going to end up posting. So that's my experience anyway. So don't overthink it. It doesn't have to be massive, and keep it consistent as well. Once a week just to start with.
I'll follow that up with a marketing sort of side to that, because the way we're trying to get into the football industry is from two completely different angles. So let's say you want to get involved in that media side of things, that marketing side of things. There's so many assessments that you're doing right now that you can post about. There's so many creative modules where you've created a piece of work, whether it's an A board for some charity that the uni wants you to create. Just post that.
Yeah.
Post the grade it got, you know. I got first class for this podcast video that I had to create for my uni, you know. When it gets to you applying, when you show your CV to future recruiters, to employees, you'll be able to have those exact assessments to back it up. At least that's the recommendation I'd have if I was to go back to first year, you know. All those assessments that you have the evidence of them, just post it, you know, on your CV. You can write about it in the interview. You can say, look, I'll send you the link to this exact assessment on my LinkedIn, and you could see what I'm talking about. And yeah, let's dive further into the networking side of things now when it comes to LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is quite broad. You can post, you can build your own personal brand, but let's dive into who's going to see that content, who's going to see what you're posting. When it comes to networking, how important do you think mentorship is?
Really important. It can benefit you in a lot of ways, having a mentor, having someone who has been there and done it. Like I said earlier, I had one in first year. It sped up my process of where I wanted to go. It told me what I should do, what I shouldn't do. Again, you're going to listen to someone who's done it. So yeah, 100%. Networking is really important, and it can allow you to gain access to a mentor. Like I say, someone who's been there and done it.
It's so important from my side of things as well. There's so many people that I've connected with and given messages, we've exchanged conversations, and there's so much that you could gain from it. For someone that's just created a LinkedIn, you know, they've got a few posts, their first or second year, how do you actually reach out to these industry experts? Because it could be quite daunting, it could be quite a scary experience.
The whole point of this networking is to establish connections with people, like you say, whether it's to get a mentor, or for me, another massive reason for networking is to create opportunities for yourself. So again, we talk about this loads. You have to create opportunities for yourself in the football industry. So say I wanted to work in player care, I'll be reaching out to as many player care professionals as I could, and I'd reach out, and I wouldn't send so a lot of students send a message saying like, is there any work experience at your club? Is there any opportunities at your club? Or they email Man United HR and say that. That's not going to get you anywhere, because I'm not going to go out of my day to look for opportunities and ask someone if there's a work experience role. I'm not going to do that. But if you message me and you say, hi James, I'm a first year student, I'd love to get into player care, do you mind if I ask you for some advice? I'm going to come back and say, yeah, of course. And then what I'd recommend is students then say, do you mind if we jump on a Zoom call? So I'd get on a Zoom call with this player care professional. I'd have a list of questions. I'd ask them about their journey. I'd ask them about the challenges they've faced. I'd ask them what they would do if they was in my situation. I'd ask them for some advice. So you're asking them about them, and then you're reverting it to you. At the end of that Zoom call, you've got a connection now with someone in player care. You know, it's all right messaging, but you know, like we are now on a call now, it's much more personal. We can have a joke. So yeah, that's what I would suggest. And then the whole point of it is to angle towards club visits. So I done this in volume in first and second year. I visited West Ham, Cardiff, Portsmouth, obviously, Burnley. I went up to Burnley. Burnley invited me up there for a week. Southampton too, just through doing this method on LinkedIn. And then, you know, opportunities come from this. You've met, so, you know, you start off with a message. A few weeks later, you could end up being at the training ground. You're meeting other people at this club. Opportunities can, like I say, come your way. They could be looking for a player care intern, and they could go, who do we know? Because again, clubs, when they're recruiting, a lot of the time they're going to think, you know, who do we know? Who's in our circle? James is a good lad. We saw James last week. Let's give him a message. You know, that is an example of what can happen. So yeah, that's the whole point of the networking, in my opinion. And like I say, that's how I'd go about it. I'd be personal with people. I'd reach out and I'd ask them for advice, angle it towards a Zoom call. And again, in the career launchpad, we go over, we give you sort of templates, networking templates and trackers, so you can track all your messages. Again, it is quite strategic, but for me, it's got to be strategic. It can't be you're sending 5 messages and then no one replies, and then you're like, oh, you know, this doesn't work. I was sending so many messages out. So in the career launchpad, like I say, we allow you to track all your messages. We sort of tell you what to say in the first message, what to say if they do reply, what to say if they don't reply. Most people don't even follow up. What to say on a Zoom call, how to sort of angle that club visit. So we give everyone the sort of blueprint to networking, or I'd say. And like I said, it's so important. If you don't do this, if you're a student and you're not networking with people, you will really struggle, in my opinion, to to land a role, because it's like a mindset. It's a mindset of realizing the football industry is all about who you know. Obviously what you know is important, but it's all about who you know, and more importantly probably who knows you. So like I say, these opportunities will come your way if you're networking with people, if you're posting on LinkedIn, all this type of stuff. All sort of comes together. Plus you're working on your CV, plus you're doing some CPD, you're getting some courses under your belt. It all sort of ties together to become as employable as possible, I'd say. Long story short.
So a perfect way to round it off is the Career Launchpad. How do you actually access it? How do you get to it?
So workingfootball.net is our website. You can find the Career Launchpad on there. You can go on our LinkedIn, links to the Career Launchpad are on our LinkedIn too. If you want to chat about it, send me a message. We can jump on a Zoom call. If you want any advice whatsoever, we give sort of, we have messages every day. It's just, some people don't need to join the Career Launchpad. Some need just a little bit of advice. So yeah, any advice, anything you want, sort of shoot us a message on LinkedIn, Instagram, Working Football.